So a few things. Respectfully, that's bat crazy, everything you just said. Respectfully.
Immigration is a big issue from us because the system is really not working for anybody.
Thanks to, like I said, people like you, thanks to all this independent media, we could get the truth. And through corporate media, they've been lying to us for years, and we finally can see what's really going on. They can't hide it because you're going straight to the people.
You know, you guys, it's not even like watching news. It's just watching truth. You know, it's just watching, like, not just speaking truth to power, but speaking truth to people.
Bernie Sanders won Nevada. As I said, there's no way around it. He absolutely won.
Here to go back to
Saudi Arabia, and I've been here my family well before the Civil War. I had two brothers fighting Iraq, and they told me that they don't have a problem with my religion because that's what they fought for, was the freedom of America.
Just that, just holding up, taking it one day at a time. Just one day at a time. As you can see, we just got through the holiday, so it's definitely, her presence was definitely missed. So, yeah.
And even here in Cleveland, there were people who, even some of these progressives were saying they weren't going to go to the Browns games because some of the players said they would kneel.
Tell me, what do you think? Do you think that's right? No. So what are you going to do?
The man turned and saw me there recording his racism that he was displaying right out in the open, and he lunged at me in attack.
No, I'm talking to this guy here.
Okay.
My knees were skinned, my elbows, my arm. The phone itself was completely, absolutely destroyed.
Just stopping us,
BLM's come in here and try to rip the flag and stuff. They threw paint on it.
The ideology of Antifa just attacked us. Yeah. The ideology of, the fake Antifa that Joe Biden says.
There's also a personal aspect for me. My mother worked here for 24 years. She was the residency coordinator of the neurology department, and this used to be a fantastic place.
The government's giving more help to the Fortune 500 companies than the corner grocery store.
Because we have a shortage of hospitals, or hospitals are closing all over the country, in rural areas and also in our urban areas, and it is immoral in every single way.
Talking about shutting down a major hospital and converting that property into hotels or condos or some other real estate opportunity.
If we had Medicare for all, it wouldn't be happening, period. That's just the end of the story.
You're factually wrong. The state legislature is Republican. What I don't understand is you keep saying they're going to have to recount it because there's fraud, but you can't actually explain where the fraud is, what the fraud is.
Yeah, exactly. I can't, but there's a lot of fraud going on.
No, we give a about you, Trump says. It has nothing to do with me. I give a about you. They don't give a about you.
Why to you is it such an infringement on freedom to wear a mask? That's what I'm asking.
It's annoying as hell, that's why.
Is it more annoying than death? But they have tried to ban transgenders from the military, other restrictions, employment discrimination against transgenders.
Well, that has stopped now since the Supreme Court ruling.
Right, but President Trump is the one who instituted it.
Right, but he was opposed to people joining the military for the sole purpose of being funded for sex change therapy.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Was following me outside. Was following me outside. I have credentials. I can show it to you. Is this how you treat the press? Do you see what's going on here? And then somebody came up to my cameraman without saying a word and just ripped his press thing off.
Look, man, I'm not happy at all. $600 million is not enough, because how do you put a price tag on my kids' brains, their organs, my heart, like all of the stuff that's happened because of this, the layered trauma, the deaths. There is literally no way to put a dollar sign on it.
Can you answer people 6 years later, is the water back to normal here?
Absolutely not. The DNC just reached out to all the other candidates, and they pretty much just conspired to support Joe Biden. And I mean, just intervening with the democratic process.
The brotherhood is great, but we have something we're fighting for. That's why I joined the Proud Boys. So the brotherhood is great, but I joined it because I wanted to beat up some commies, man.
So we started to shut down city councils every single Wednesday for about close to 3 years on issues concerning houseless.
Black Lives Matter wants to eliminate police because actually the founders, if you read their page, they claim to be 3 lesbian separatists who hate black men. If you remove the police, they hate the nuclear family and they don't like heterosexuality.
Depressed. There's no other way to feel. There's no other way to feel except depressed, except angry, except upset, except not surprised, unfortunately.
The live stream earlier, it was completely peaceful. People were blowing bubbles, people were squeaking rubber ducks. Absolutely peaceful. So you're the head of Proud Boys, you're from Florida. Chairman, okay. So what do you think about this event? What was your goal here?
Our number one goal was really to get, and we could see it right behind you guys, really to get the police to do their job and to offer them the tools in order to get them to do their job. Now they have the ability to use CS gas, which is really important to us.
It's time that we get resources that we need. It's time that I get a full-time nurse at my school. It's time that I get a full-time counselor and resources in my community.
And the invisible prison of wealth inequality in itself that you talk about all the time. Why would Rachel Maddow ever, get out with a camera and microphone and put herself into that?
Chris Smalls is leading the march. Chris Smalls was an Amazon worker in Staten Island, New York, who was fired for trying to organize for safety.
He got rid of illegal, what's it called? He deported more people than any other president. And Trump
prior to him, yeah.
So Trump is a good old boy. He just loves America, and he's not into identity politics. I'm not,
It's about the lives that are forever changed by these fires.
Poisoning the news that we are fed with those tainted sources. All we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative is the truth of mass suffering, injustice, and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo. To oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Jordan Sheridan.
Jen.
We were trying to go live at noon Eastern, but apparently the internet is down across the board. So
Facebook and Instagram, and we use StreamYard often to go live, or usually, and that's also having trouble. Buffer seems to be having trouble. It's spreading.
yes. So hopefully this works because we're using something else. We wanted to do something special today, a members drive, because Jen, we got something really, really cool going on for the whole month of October. You're a better saleswoman than I. Go for it.
Yeah, you're not a great saleswoman. I think though, and I say this sometimes, Jordan, that you have a natural knack for that others do not. But anyway, the point is we have an incredible offer going on for joining Status Coup as a member. And as a lot of you know, and as more people trickle in as they see that we're live, Status Coup membership is fantastic because you get behind the scenes content, video diaries, access to our members only Discord server, and just a ton of stuff, including our Ask Me Anything member only calls with Jordan and myself. It's a lot of fun. And that is how we report. We are not beholden to corporations, big business, anything. We are only beholden to our members. So we're doing a special member drive because, to be very honest with you, we have a short-term goal. We definitely want to have many more members than this in the future, but our short-term goal is to reach 2,000 members. And because we've had other things to focus on, and we're really just, two people plus Colin and occasionally other freelancers, we just haven't been able to kind of push our membership in the way that we've wanted to and needed to, because this is the true backbone of Status Coup. It's how we're able to report and investigate on Flint, on the ground, and do our deep dive investigative reporting online. So we're doing a special drive where for the entire month of October, new signups to our membership, which start as low as $5 a month, get swag for free. Now we're losing money on this at the top. That's just a fact, because even at our, even when we order samples in order to send out from this company, we've recently moved to a sustainable, ethical merch company called T-Mill. And so this costs us a lot more than we will receive, per membership. But that's okay, because we think that you're going to love your membership so much that you're going to keep it. So if you join, and we'll show you more about this. Yep, here we go. So if you join as a $5 a month member, you get a Status Coup special edition print made by an incredible Status Coup viewer. I love it. It's very cool. And if you join as a $10 a month member or $20 a month member, you get a free Status Coup t-shirt, and you get to choose with the print, with the t-shirt, whatever, you get to choose what kind of background you like. You can see, the gentleman there in the center has the gray background, which Jordan prefers. And then the woman and the gentleman on the side, they have the rainbow like tie-dye, which I prefer as their background. And then you get to choose your actual t-shirt color. So there are a ton of choices. Again, this is ethical, sustainable merch. And then for those who choose to join annually, you get an incredible, comfy, perfect for fall, perfect for winter sweatshirt. So there are a ton of different choices. You can choose something that really fits your style. If you prefer the regular Status Coup logo on these items instead, that's totally fine. We can accommodate that as well. There you go. You can see that right there. You can get really any t-shirt. The prints we have only set up with the cartoon or the sweatshirt, depending on the level you choose. So I think this is really cool and really fun because, first of all, we're by the people, for the people, supported by the people, for the people. And the fact that a Status Coup viewer made that incredible cartoon is awesome. And by the way, our logo was also made by a very talented viewer. So that's what we're all about. We're not about, big corporation, whatever. We're about you guys. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to cover some very important topics today. We're doing this stream special for you on a Monday, despite a lot of the internet being down right now. And we really hope that you'll join. If you are already a Status Coup member, it really helps for a variety of reasons for us to reach that critical 2,000 member point. So you could purchase a membership, even if you're already a member, for your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, your grandma, your cat, your dog. New members get the free bonus, but you are more than welcome to purchase for someone else and keep the free swag yourself, or pass it along to whoever you're buying the membership for. So we hope that you guys will see the value we offer and sign up. StatusCoup.com/fall to see all the details.
And by the way, I'm going to say something on this, but just to preview today, Kristen Sinema in the toilet, literally. Kirsten Sinema in the toilet, which I love, and to hell with these people talking about civility and that's an invasion and blah, 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 blah. Well, I think it's kind of uncivil to block healthcare and childcare and Medicare expansion and education and, saving the planet. I think that's pretty uncivil. So, Kirsten Sinema could take it. People following her in the bathroom. They're following her to the bathroom because apparently she won't answer any constituent calls, won't hold town halls, and doesn't respond to any constituents other than dark money super PACs, as well as the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. We also, as part of, we want to remind you of the stuff we've already done out on the ground if we're asking you to sign up as a member. So we have clips from when we were in West Virginia recently reporting on Joe Manchin, which I think are going to shed light on his corruption and why this goes way, way beyond just what he's doing now. Also, we're going to play some clips from my coverage on Friday on the ground covering Stephen Donziger's sentencing. Other than I believe Greg Palast, there was no other outlets there.
Really? I didn't know that, Jordan. That's
crazy.
I
think I've covered Stephen Donziger on the ground, several rallies, interviewing him in his apartment 2 weeks ago, and then covering the sentencing. We're going to show you footage I don't exclusively, I'm not sure, footage we got from protests against Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, who's a Republican, stop eviction protests that went on there, that I believe, Jen, we're the only ones with that footage.
I believe that this has not been published by any other news outlet. So this was a protest. I live in Maryland, as many of you may know, and Larry Hogan is the governor here. So our Revolution and a variety of other folks did a protest, including a sleep-in in Annapolis, the capital of Maryland, to protest for tenant rights. And the gentleman named Carlos, and we'll credit him when we show this, he said, I hope you're able to make it. Unfortunately, I was not. And he was kind enough to send along footage and photographs. And this is what needs to happen around the country. And this is what's happening around the country. So we're very pleased to highlight that.
Right. And we also
we received special, now this has gone very viral, but we received special permission from the Lucha group in Arizona, which has done incredible and very important protests against Kirsten Sinema being Kirsten Sinema. So we're happy to show all of this.
And, we'll talk periodically throughout this about the membership, but I just want to be direct because I think sometimes, and I've seen this in independent media, you see commenters, they mean well, but, stop asking for money, because I think that maybe just subconsciously they view us in the same category as breaking points, or Kyle Kalinske, or Jimmy Dore, or Humanist Report, Rational National, whomever is your flavor. I don't mean category like
those guys, but
yeah. I don't mean category like politically. I just mean they view Status Coup kind of in that same kind of category as far as progressive media. We are in a different category just by the amount of overhead, meaning the amount of expenses we have every month. Basically, if we're traveling in any given month, the expenses between myself, Jen, Colin, monthly programs we have, equipment costs, which are monthly, marketing costs, which are monthly, social media costs, which are monthly. I mean, there's a lot of costs that go into an independent media outlet. Any given month, our overhead could be anywhere between $10,000 and $15,000. And if we go on a reporting trip, for example, for a week to 2 weeks, it's definitely closer to the $15,000. No, I respect all those people I named. They don't have those costs, not even close, because they don't do the reporting on the ground. So that is why we ask for support, and we do it often. We also have to ask for a report because if you haven't noticed what's going on online, this channel has been severely suppressed by YouTube, essentially since it launched in spring or so of 2018. We have 121,000 subscribers, but we do not even reach all of our actual subscribers. They don't get notified, or they don't even see us in their feeds. A good example of how suppressed we are, I think twice Kyle Kalinske has covered stories we did on the ground, and with his pointing it out and telling his subscribers to subscribe, within a day we got between 1,500 to 2,000 new YouTube subscribers, and the comments start flooding in. These are people who know us. These are people who know me from the Young Turks, but have never seen Status Coup in their feed in 3 years. So that's not a content problem. That's a deliverability problem. That is a exposure problem where we're not being seen. So the reason that we are pushing for membership is it's a double-edged sword. We don't take corporate money. We're not going to take corporate money. But the truth is, if you're not going to take corporate money, you have to ask the people. And we can't just do it like, oh, at the end of the show, we'll mention. We have to do it the way we're doing it now. And the truth is, in this media landscape, unfortunately, you lose people as members if they disagree with certain takes you take. I don't think it should be that way. I don't think people should just, not just to us, but anybody, I don't think people should just cancel their membership if you disagree on some issues, or, you're not hearing your view validated, or your pre-existing view fed back to you at 100% of the time. But frankly, we've lost members over the last, month or two, just by telling the truth on COVID. We've lost members by refusing to get into this progressive media battle royale that, declaring everyone sellouts and declaring it all hopeless. We just focus on the on-the-ground reporting. But the truth is, we've taken this about as far as we can without taking corporate cash. We just added Colin, who's behind the scenes right now doing this live stream. We brought him on a more permanent basis. Obviously, we have to pay him. For the Stephen, you don't see it, but for the live stream we just did covering Stephen Donziger, I got to pay a cameraman, between $150 and $200 plus parking in New York City, which is another $50. So just for that live stream, we paid $250. We're not making money off of most of these live streams. We're losing money. So there's a lot of costs that you don't see, and that is why we really, really sincerely ask you to consider membership. If you're already a member, if it's within your means, consider gifting a membership to somebody else. I also want to just address, and we're going to move on to the first topic. I saw people saying, well, what can we do? How much would it cost just to get everything? Status Coup Substack, Status Coup, Rockfin, all this. Unfortunately, we don't control Rockfin. That's their platform. So we can't just, like, if you're already a Status Coup member, we can't say, well, if you pay an extra $5, we'll make you a Rockfin Status Coup member, because it's not our platform. We don't have control over it. So for Rockfin, if you want content to our weekly Rockfin live stream, which is exclusively on Rockfin once a week, you would have to become a Rockfin premium members. I know some people, it's a double-edged sword, Jen, because some people, hey, welcome new YouTube members. Yes, we also have YouTube membership, which we'll talk about in a minute. But some people have said, well, I'm already a Status Coup paying member, Jordan and Jen, so why can't I watch the Rockfin stream? Well, we had to make a decision. We are being buried on YouTube. I mean, we just are. If we're lucky, maybe we'll make $100 to $200 a day on YouTube from super chats and whatever. So
maybe,
maybe if we're lucky. So when we had an offer to go once a week exclusively on Rockfin to make a lot more than that, guaranteed. As a business proposition, we have to pay. I have to make money. Jen has to be paid. Colin has to be paid. We pay Tina, our freelance journalist, other freelancers, our cameraman when we use a cameraman here in New York for local things. The costs I just described to you every month. There's a lot. I mean, by the way, this is not just us saying this. Crystal Ball has mentioned this. Kyle has mentioned this. They have openly said Status Coup has way more costs than us. And it's not a competition, but the point is, like, we need, it's not a cherry on top of the cake, cherry on top of the pie. We need to grow our membership or we will not exist. I mean, that's just the stark reality. So in terms of our Substack, we started doing separate things, meaning started a Substack, started a Rockfin channel, because as Jen always said, we cannot be exclusively reliant on YouTube. We have to develop new revenue streams in different places, because if you're noticing what's going on YouTube, we have to prepare for a day where we might not be here, not by choice. But so the bottom line is, I don't want you to feel like, oh, it's too confusing, different things. Status Coup membership, which is what we're trying to get you to sign up for today. What you get, we do a monthly members call through Zoom. We actually did 2 this month. We do behind the scenes videos. I just uploaded a members video from my coverage of Stephen Donziger explaining to you me getting screamed at for no reason by activists. So that was fun.
Easy.
And kind of giving you a more behind the scenes on many colorful interactions I've had with activists over the years. So that's up. You get it as a patron and a Status Coup member. If you're a Status Coup member, you go to on the front page of the website, become a member, and right over become a member. If you go over become a member, you'll see member content. So if you're already a member, you just click on that. That gives you access to all our behind the scenes videos. So we also have a members only Discord that we got to kind of revive because it's been a little quiet in there. But we got a Discord for members, which Jen and I both want to get into more. But the bottom line is, I'm just being direct and truthful. We were exploding during the Democratic primary. We grew 600 or so paid members because we were on the ground in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada, Super Tuesday in California, Michigan. Jen and I both kind of split it up, obviously covering the primary the way the corporate media was covering up. We covered what actually was going on, in addition to exposing election fraud that was going on. Then COVID hit, we plummeted because people lost their jobs, and that's understandable. A lot of people had to cancel. I mean, the emails that were coming in from people more concerned about us and like apologetic that they had to cancel and how much they support us were amazing. We said, it's understandable. Don't worry about it. We hope you land on your feet if you lost your job and whatnot. But now it's just a matter of, we grow and then we lose. We grow and then we lose. So we have to push our membership a lot. And I know for some people, they're just used to watching other channels that don't really mention it. Well, with all due respect, Kyle Kalinske had a 10-year head start on us, and he was able to grow a massive audience before YouTube changed its algorithm. He has openly said if he would have launched after YouTube changed its algorithm, he'd be in big trouble. Crystal and Sagar, who have openly admitted this, they had the major benefit of being on the corporate outlet The Hill for 2 years, where they were not suppressed. In fact, they were, their streams were flooded into people's streams because it was The Hill. Because they were able to get that kind of exposure without suppression, they were able to grow a massive following. And then when they left, immediately, they were able to build a massive email list because they already had such a following from The Hill. We didn't have that luxury. I mean, Crystal has said this openly, that they major league benefited from being on The Hill. I mean, go down the list, Jimmy, others, all of these channels, not that they aren't, don't work hard, they had years to grow in a fair and even playing field, meaning without the suppression. We have not. We actually launched at the worst possible time, right after YouTube changed its algorithm. They changed it kind of 2017. We launched in 2018. So the bottom line is, I understand, maybe, stop asking us for money. If I'm just being direct, if we do not ask you to be a member, if we don't ask it early and often, if we don't push this, we will not be long for this world. I mean, I'm not trying to be dire, but that is the truth, because we could only take this so far. Frankly, I and Jen there's burnout, and then there's like beyond burnout. We're two people that have done the job of 20 for 3 years. So we want to grow this membership. I really hope even at the $5 a month level, you could sign up. We also have the YouTube membership here. Jen, if you could explain what that is.
Absolutely. So we have our YouTube membership, which gives you, to back up a little bit. So we kind of went back and forth on opening up the YouTube membership option or not. YouTube started it, my timelines are crazy since COVID, but over a year ago at least. And we went back and forth on offering the YouTube membership for a while. In the end, we decided to, because it honestly, it gives you more options. It's easy for people to join when they might not have seen or even known that we had a membership before. The downside to the YouTube membership is that it's on YouTube. So in the case that we get kicked off of YouTube, in my opinion, it would always be by no fault of our own. We report facts, we report truth, but it's YouTube, and they don't want dissenting voices. And who knows what could happen? The landscape changes. The landscape has changed dramatically over the last 5 years, to say the least. So we now offer the YouTube membership, which does give you the same benefits as joining through our site. We appreciate all of it. I will say, no matter what we offer ever, in the hopes to grow and expand and keep going as an outlet that does have in-field reporting costs, etc. Always our website membership is our number one priority, because we control it. It's not, at the it's not in the control of YouTube or Rockfin or Patreon or whatever. Will Patreon be here in 2 years? Who knows? Will Rockfin be here in a year? I don't know. Who knows? So there are things that we try to do to grow and expand our audience, including offering the YouTube membership. We are specifically offering a very special deal, as we've mentioned, for those who join through StatusCoup.com/fall. You'll get some bonus swag, which is really fun. So you can get that as well through YouTube by joining through YouTube, but our preference absolutely is through our own site. In any case, no matter how you join, you need to email us at info@statuscoup.com and go to the statuscoup.com/fall page to see the details, to see the options, and so we can get you your swag. I also want to say that it's not just a matter of joining to support us for the $5 or whatever. That absolutely helps. It's critical to Status Coup. But we also are, to be very upfront, trying to get some progressive sponsorship, some progressive investment. And because even progressives in business, or progressives with, more cash than the rest of us have, they want to see results. So if we can demonstrate that we have 2,000 members, that really helps. It helps a lot. So getting to that 2,000 member point is absolutely crucial. StatusCoup.com/fall has all the details of how you can get your swag, what swag you can get, and what to email us at info@statuscoup.com. Welcome to our incredible new YouTube members. We appreciate you. Again, please just email us, because YouTube does not give us a way to contact you otherwise. I also want to mention specifically, Shirley mentioned, well, you guys have the Rockfin membership, so that's kind of turned me off to being a member. I completely understand, to be honest with you. And I hope, for folks who may have missed us saying this before, we joined Rockfin and do exclusive Rockfin streams now because they've offered us a minimum monthly guarantee of payment. That's why. This minimum monthly guarantee allows us to do more in-field reporting, allows us to afford investigative tools, other tools to run our business, equipment, etc. So we completely understand that it's disappointing to some to have some Rockfin content that's behind that Rockfin paywall. How we separate that, and this took some growth and some figuring out, but we're basically streaming things that we can't talk about on YouTube, that we simply can't talk about on this platform or wherever you're watching. Rockfin doesn't have the same sort of rules, or, we're allowed to talk about what happened to JFK there. We're allowed to talk about certain secret societies, which is what we talked about last week. We're allowed to have folks like
the Bush family crime syndicate.
Yeah, exactly. The literally evil Bush family who owes Holocaust victims and families money, to be clear. But that is the sort of stuff that we can talk about in Rockfin that we can't talk about on YouTube and other platforms. And it's simply for a very small startup, we need that income. All that is to say, and I know we've been talking about this stuff for a while, that we understand we don't want anyone to feel left out. I never want to put important, impactful reporting behind a paywall. So we have made adjustments, and we're talking like other stuff that would be censored here on these platforms that you're watching right now. But yeah.
And by the way, Jen, I mean, let's just, in reality, the guaranteed money from Rockfin is why we were able to take the last reporting trip we took. It was, money has been tight, and that money from Rockfin that comes in based on a once a week live stream gave us the extra money. Our reporting trips, if we're very, very frugal, at the low end, will cost between $2,500 and $3,000 just for a couple days, a week, because you got flights, hotels, rent a car, food. So like, that's why Rockfin, we decided to do Rockfin, because we're just from a once a week live stream, it's not money so we could go play blackjack. It's money so we could have money to go out and report and cover the stories you know us for. So that's kind of that's the bottom line. So we don't talk about this forever.
Yeah.
If you want the on the ground reporting that, as humbly as I could say it, no one else is fucking doing. I mean, 9 out of 10 things I go to, folks, it's myself or it's Jen, maybe a documentary filmmaker. Hell, I've been to so many things that you see more crews from France and the UK than actual local news or national news in America. So at the end of the day, it really is, I don't want to sugarcoat it. If you want the on the ground reporting, we've taken it as far as we can with GoFundMe and, GoFundMe and the membership we have built. But there are a lot more expenses, and we need you. I mean, I'm telling you straight up into the camera, we need you. You might not agree with everything, every take we have. You might not, certain things. You might, whatever, not 100% be with us. But you really, at the end of the day, ask yourself, who else is doing it? Who else is doing it? And we're going to play a lot of clips today from our on the ground reporting. Who else is doing it? Because if you could tell me the long list of people that are doing it and doing it well, then maybe we're not needed as much. I can assure you, it's Status Coup is the leading independent on the ground reporting unit, and it will continue to grow as far as you take us. So we'll give some shout outs to new members. To sign up to our website, which is our preference, statuscoup.com/fall, FALL, and that will give you the directions, how to sign up as a member and how to get your free Status Coup merchandise. Anything I missed, Jen?
Nope, I think you got it all. I just want to mention, if you are already signed up as a member, and if you intend to sign up a friend or family member, you simply need to sign up with a different email address and all good to go. So that is incredibly helpful. The monthly membership is income we can rely on. Again, if you've already, and I'm so grateful to you, have signed up as a member on YouTube, just email us info@statuscoup.com.
So, much to do today, but I think we should start with Kirsten Sinema in the toilet. In the toilet. And by the way, I'm pleased that progressives have finally coordinated and played hardball thus far. It's not a small thing, even though some channels are just going to ignore it or say it's a photo op. It's not a small thing that, Pramila Jayapal stayed firm, the squad, AOC and the rest of them stayed firm. Bernie was screaming into the night, do not vote for this infrastructure bill. This should not come up. So compared to what we have seen for the last 9-10 months from the progressives who folded like cheap tents, we have made progress. That's not enough, but they are actually exercising power, which is a damn good development. I'm not pleased with the current things I'm seeing. We have a clip from
Jordan,
AOC.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I completely forgot. We should tell people that we're going to have a special stream for members.
Oh, go ahead.
After this. Yeah, so directly following this, I can't believe we forgot because this is very exciting. We're going to have a stream where Status Coup members can ask us they want, and only members will get the link to this live stream. You can ask us questions, talk about whatever. It'll be really fun. So that's another reason to join. I cannot believe we forgot to mention that. StatusCoup.com/fall. Go ahead, Jordan.
Bring down the. So, I'm not loving like AOC's appearance on the Sunday shows and what she was saying. So we're going to play that in a little bit. But I want to start with Kirsten Sinema, who I don't even know. I don't like. She's like a mix of the movie Clueless and like Mean Girls.
That movie, I love that movie.
It's like Clueless means Mean Girls meets like a fucking horror movie. But Kirsten Sinema, who, I'm by the way right now speaking with some Arizona activists to try and set up an interview with them so we could get from the activists who have been trying to get her to respond to them for like years. So we could, have their voice. Another thing Status Coup does interview with human beings and activists and community members. So stay tuned for that. But Kirsten Sinema, for some reason, Jen, the media kind of buries the story. I saw one article in the New York Times about all the money that she was taking in real time from these business groups, Big Pharma. That is the story. And David Sirota and his group have done a good job on that. She is literally even more than Manchin, I think, blocking this whole thing as she hoards, like stuffing her face with Big Pharma money, U.S. Chamber of Commerce, other business lobbying groups. Who knows? Maybe she doesn't want to run for re-election. Maybe she just wants to, ride off into the sunset and be a lobbyist or something. Maybe she wants to go own a winery. Who the hell knows? But
well, I think it's worth mentioning that her team said, she hurt her foot this past weekend, so she had to go back to Arizona. Well, it was very soon revealed that she, in fact, instead had a fundraiser to attend, as she has often lately, specifically with groups that are very much against this reconciliation bill.
Right. So, frankly, activists in Arizona have had enough. You got progressive activists, you got, obviously immigration activists. So they tried to confront her. Jen, do you know where this was? What building?
That is a great question. I can look into that. I don't know the building, but
okay. So they confronted her. I don't know. She's a public servant. It's her job to answer these people. So let's watch. Obviously she wouldn't answer. So they had to follow her into a more private setting. Colin, if you could play.
Immigrants are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. Immigrants are welcome here. Sinema, escucha, estamos en la lucha.
How you guys doing?
to leave. You guys need to leave the property. Okay? Start heading that way.
We'll be back! We'll be back! We'll be back! We'll be back! We'll be back!
They're with the group.
Can we do a trespass warning so they don't come back?
Unafraid!
Sorry for yelling.
Stand up, fight back! Stand up, fight back! What do we do? Stand up, fight back! Sinema, escucha! Estamos en la lucha! Sinema, escucha! Estamos en la lucha! Sinema, entiende! El pueblo se defiende! Build back better, back the bill! 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 Sinema, escucha! Estamos en la lucha! Sinema, entiende! El pueblo se defiende! Build back better, back the bill! 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 Build back better, back the bill!
Guys, we gotta have this. We have hotel guests right here.
Build back better, back the bill! Build back better, back the bill!
Okay, I'll be back.
Sit down, we want to talk to you real quick. Can we talk to you real quick?
Hi, actually, I am heading out.
But right now is a real moment that our people need in order for us to be able to talk about what's really happening. We need a Build Back Better plan right now.
We knocked on doors. We need solutions, and the Build Back Better plan has the solutions that we need.
We knocked on doors for you to get you elected, and just how we got you elected, we can get you out of office if you don't support what you promised us.
We need 7 million citizenship for 7 million. We need the Build Back Better plan right now.
My name is Blanca. I was brought here to the United States when I was 3 years old. And in 2010, my grandparents both got deported because of SB 1070. And I'm here because I definitely believe that we need a pathway to citizenship. My grandfather passed away 2 weeks ago, and I was not able to go to Mexico and visit him because there is no pathway to citizenship. And if we have the opportunity to pass it right now, then we need to do it because there's millions of undocumented people just like me who share the same story or even worse things that happen to them because of SB 1070 and because of anti-immigrant legislation. And this is the opportunity to pass it right now, and we need to hold you accountable to what you told us, what you promised us that you were going to pass when we knocked on doors for you. It's not right.
I'm a survivor of human trafficking, and it's because of the lack of worker protections that we don't have in the gig economy. I need you to stand by workers, lots of people who are like me, who became homeless and
So, I'll start with you, Jen, because some people will say, invasion of privacy, following a woman into the bathroom, blah 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 blah. What do you think of that?
Well, first of all, they would not have had to follow her into the bathroom if she was willing to speak at all, ever, anywhere. She's now famously or infamously mum on what she wants. Joe Manchin is more vocal. He's on, he does interviews. Sinema is very quiet, unless she's in a room with donors. So I completely understand why these activists had to follow her into the bathroom. And I also want to say that this Blanca, so this is from the Lucha group. So this is Lucha_AZ. And this is the group that is doing a lot of activism around this and protesting Sinema, activism around trying to get Sinema to do the right thing for the people. And they were kind enough to give us permission to use their footage. So they had tweeted, breaking, Blanca, an Arizona immigrant youth confronts at Senator Sinema inside her classroom where she teaches at ASU, Arizona State University. And this was the young lady who said, in 2010, both my grandparents got deported because of SB 1070. My grandfather passed away 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't able to go to Mexico because there is no pathway to citizenship. And that's just one of the stories or voices that you heard on that. And, you know, it's, for example, Ted Cruz lackey or former lackey, and potentially more, if you recall some 2016 gossip, Amanda Carpenter tweeted, protesters followed Sinema into a bathroom to film themselves confronting her. This is over the line, gross, unnecessary, and counterproductive. Get a grip. So I, quote tweeted her and I said, is that what's gross, or is what's gross being a senator who's willing to let people die and suffer so she can stuff her own pockets? And that's honestly how I feel. Like, if Senator Sinema was willing to speak to her constituents, if she'd said, hold on, I'm going to use the restroom, then I will come out and speak to you. Sure, that's one thing. If she was willing to speak to other Democrats in Congress, okay, that's one thing. She's not. She's being quiet and only focusing on her donors and not the people. So are we at a point where it's more important to be, polite or whatever, or is it more important for Kyrsten Sinema to know that the jig is up, that people know what she's doing, people see her, and people are protesting her? She's a public servant. She's not doing anything for the people. I got into some so-called hot water on Twitter when I said that, when Cori Bush and even AOC were outside fighting against the eviction crisis and trying to get something done. And in the end, Joe Biden passed something temporary. It got shot down, as it was always going to. But Rep. Cori Bush and AOC, especially Cori Bush, got people some more time. So I got in so-called trouble on Twitter for saying that while Cori Bush was trying to speak and AOC was trying to speak about what they were doing and what was happening at that point and trying to get people more time, there were folks who were literally talking over them, yelling at them, etc., when they were actively trying to help the people. And people said, well, we're allowed to protest our public servants. We're allowed to, say whatever we want. This is how things get done. Why are you trying to protect the squad? Why are you doing X, Y, Z? And so here's why. Here's why my opinion on that specific instance with AOC and Cori Bush is different than my opinion about that bathroom video with Kyrsten Sinema. It's because AOC, and again, especially Cori Bush, were literally trying to do something good. They were trying to protest. They were trying to get something done. People misunderstood what within the law could be done with that. And unfortunately, there were commentators who were giving incorrect information, etc. So it's never about, in my opinion, like being kind to public servants. It's about effectiveness. So is it effective to, while they're trying to do something good, scream at a Cori Bush about something else? No, that's not effective. And that's actually counter effective, if that's a word. But with a Senator Sinema who will not talk to the public, who will not talk to her constituents, who will not talk to others in the Senate, who will not talk to others in Congress, where else are you gonna get her? Where else is she going to listen to you but in the bathroom at a class she teaches in. So I think that that's just, case in point of effective protesting. And now it's gone viral. That clip of her in the bathroom has been seen over 4 million times.
Welcome new YouTube member, James Latimer. So James and other members will be, will be able to tune into our members only live stream right after this. We'll be taking questions. Just to remind you, we have our main membership is through our website. YouTube membership, you get the same perks, but you could sign up on YouTube if you want as a member, or sign up at our website, statuscoup.com/fall, statuscoup.com/fall. If you go there, it will give you directions how to sign up to our website, which is our preferred method, I would say, because we control it rather than. But if you sign up to our website, you're also going to get that free swag. So go to statuscoup.com/fall to sign up at any level, $5, $10, $20, or the annual membership of $179. And at each different level, you'll get a different piece of merchandise. So that's statuscoup.com/fall. Right now, we're at 1,788 Status Coup members through our website. So that is our goal, to drive that up to 2,000. And as you could see, membership is more important than ever. I mean, just look at it. Somehow we have 170 people watching, but 243 likes. So this has been happening for a long time on YouTube, where apparently there's more people that liked it than watched it. So I guess ghosts are liking it and then they disappear. So we've thought for a long time that the YouTube numbers don't even seem real. I feel like we have more people watching us, but I digress. Keep signing up. Welcome, James, and we hope we get some other signups. We will definitely shout you out as we go. So what I find, it's not that I'm against what they did. I mean, I don't really give a shit if she goes into the bathroom to eat, whatever. I mean, you as a senator are literally making decisions to deprive people of education, healthcare, paid family leave, free community college, massive money in affordable housing. I mean, we can the climate proposals in that deal. Arizona is being severely impacted by the climate catastrophe. So I would say that's kind of less civil than, I mean, I wouldn't say like a man go follow her into the bathroom, but yeah, female constituents following her to the bathroom. I mean, there was no violence. And of course, the corporate media freaks out and says, oh, this is uncivil and, against norms and blah, 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 blah.
They were literally on mainstream media. They were like, we can't show you this footage because it's an invasion of privacy. And it's like, okay, right. What is really important here? Right.
Just like they can't report on the, flood of money that Kirsten Sinema and others are getting, which we have a clip, actually, I want to show on that in a little bit. But they can't be bothered to report on that, how much money these people are taking, which are bribes. They're legal bribes they're taking. That's the story. These people are blocking, in some cases, life-saving legislation. In other cases, life-improving legislation, because they're bought off and they're corrupt. I mean, they're not moderate; they're corrupt. That's the difference. But to me, as effective, and I'm all for protesting Kirsten Sinema. Jen, I've been calling this forever. Why aren't people starting to protest the corporate media, who has been covering this absolutely ridiculously, who have basically been pushing propaganda that, the progressives, would you rather take nothing? Would you rather get nothing? The progressives, they're tanking. They're willing to tank it. Like the corporate media has been, like they do on every other issue, have basically been public relations stenographers for Manchin and Sinema. I mean, just the Sunday shows yesterday, I didn't watch all of them, but just some of the clips were nauseating. Well, multimillionaires, anchors saying, well, wouldn't it be better to get something than nothing to progressives? Well, yeah, if you're a multimillionaire and nothing in this legislation matters to you and you don't need any of it, and you're fine, you'll be drinking your Bordeaux if you're Chuck Todd or any of these other Sunday show hosts as the planet burns, because, you know, you got a penthouse suite. It won't affect you, right? So I don't, you know, to me, protest Manchin, yes, Jen and I have been calling for progressives to show up in West Virginia, to show up.
Including electeds.
Right. For AOC, Bernie, Ro Khanna, Pramila Jayapal, whatever you think of them over the last few months, they currently are playing hardball. But instead of doing it inside the Beltway, get out of the Beltway and hold a rally in West Virginia. Hold rallies in Arizona. You think, you know, Ryan Grimm said to me, I don't know if they'd be well attended. Trust me, they'd be well attended. But I also think progressives, in addition to protesting these politicians, go to the Arizona Republic. Protest them, who have probably not even mentioned Kyrsten Sinema's donors. Go to the New York Times, CNN, MSNBC. They are manufacturing consent against what progressives have called for, which is $3.5 trillion. It seems like this step is never taken. And I think it's a major missed opportunity. You know, not everybody could protest every day, and you got to pick and choose who you protest. I agree with Jen that this was good because it's gone viral. And you know, corporate media could say, we're not going to show it. Well, at least it gets to more people that are online so they could see what a corrupt, you know, asshole Kyrsten Sinema is. And we should remind you, which, you know, you kind of hear it sometimes in corporate media, but not a lot. This is somebody who was for Ralph Nader. Okay, this is somebody who was for Ralph Nader in 2000. This is somebody, if you know, I've retweeted some of her tweets from the early 2010s because they were basically speaking like Bernie or AOC. Okay, so you go from Ralph Nader supporter to a Green Party member to calling out corruption and money in politics 10 years ago to I won't speak to reporters on Capitol Hill. I won't speak to youth activists outside the bathroom, inside the bathroom. I won't speak I won't hold town halls. Colin, that tweet I sent you before the show, can you play it? This is somebody from Arizona who is explaining that this isn't a one-off, her refusing to actually speak with constituents. If you have that tweet, Colin. It's Brianna Westbrook. Here we go. Yeah. I mean, just look at this. The Arizona Democratic Party Executive Board asked Sinema to hold 3 in-person town halls to help support statewide organizing efforts. She punted the question to staff without a commitment. If she doesn't want to have public town halls, constituents must confront her everywhere. And you want to know something? To me, I think AOC, like, for example, we covered a protest outside AOC's office a couple weeks ago on Medicare for All. We covered it. I thought it was fine. It wasn't like violent. It was like AOC is not above being challenged. None of these people are. And I think she has kind of I think they have folded on a lot of things, including Medicare for All. Not that I think they could get us Medicare for All today. We don't have the White House. We don't have majorities in Congress. But I do think you haven't heard a lot from the squad or any really coherent strategy on how to build towards Medicare for All while not having the numbers. But so I'm all for the squad being challenged or confronted, but at least in some way they answer in some ways. Kyrsten Sinema, she refuses to speak to anybody. And by the way, she has to go to Arizona for a foot doctor. I don't know, Jen. Washington, D.C.'s got pretty good doctors.
Pretty good foot doctors
Right.
in D.C.
Right. So she's full of it. And frankly, Manchin, who we're going to get to, who is corrupt and disgusting and an evil man, at the very least, he doesn't hide who he is. He openly told reporters if progressives want to get this stuff done, they need to elect more. He called them liberals. So he's basically saying, I'm not a liberal. He's basically, he might as well say I'm a Republican. So at least like he answers reporters. He doesn't. I mean, he's clearly hiding his corruption, which we're going to get to, because a reporter dared to challenge him on the money he's making from the coal in his state. And he literally basically threatened that reporter, don't dare say another word. We'll get to that. But it's just amazing to me. It's amazing to me that the media will basically, it's like a footnote in stories. The New York Times, I was shocked, even did a story on the fundraiser she was holding, but then they just let it go. So, and then they just frame it like, well, Kyrsten Sinema, she's in Arizona, So she's got to be this way to get reelected. Well, I don't know. Biden just got elected in Arizona. Kyrsten Sinema got elected in the first place in Arizona. There's a lot more Latino voters in Arizona than there was 10 years ago. So I don't think it's as ruby red of a state as it was. And I don't know, the other senator, Mark Kelly, who's no progressive, he's not a progressive, but he's he's supported the reconciliation deal. And he's got a much higher approval rating than Kyrsten Sinema. So this notion that they have to be this way and they have to be a maverick, they're comparing her to like Manchin as John McCain, rest in peace, that war criminal. They are comparing her to McCain.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so she could be like McCain. Conservatives aren't going to vote for her. Maybe some will, but they're not going to vote for her over like the Republican candidate. So it's just, the whole thing is absurd. And I'm telling you, I encourage the activists in Arizona to keep shaming her, to keep confronting her, find where she is and go confront her. Obviously, civil disobedience. We're not talking about being violent, but don't forget your media in Arizona. Don't forget the New York Times, the Washington Post. They are a huge reason why these all legislation, basically for 30 years, have been watered down, because they frame it as, well, isn't something better than nothing? Bipartisan victories. Well, you know what was bipartisan victories, Jen? NAFTA, that was a bipartisan victory. The crime bill, that was a bipartisan victory. Welfare reform, that was a bipartisan victory. Repealing Glass-Steagall, which tanked the global financial economy a decade later, bipartisan. Patriot Act, bipartisan. The list can go on and on and on. So I don't know. I'm glad to see them pressuring Sinema. And like I said, we've reached out to activists to interview them to find out more about Sinema. But to me, I think there needs to be a lot more shaming, not just of her, but the media that is essentially burying that she is legally being bought off.
Absolutely. And one of my, I don't have much time to focus on this, but one of my questions lately has been, what happened to Kyrsten Sinema? How did she go from Green Party activist, literally leading protests, to running away from immigrants in the bathroom in the college that she teaches in? How did this happen? And the only answer is money, of course, but I still don't understand how you go from principles to no principles unless you never had them in the first place, and it was all, an opportunity. So I have no answers on that part of things. What I do have clarity on is, I watched bring people together from both sides, like John McCain and on and on. Same with Joe Manchin. These extended little mini docs that NPR and PBS and Friends are doing on these folks is essentially painting Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema as these centrist people in the way that this is what we need, in the way that the progressives are crazy in Congress who are holding this up, and that Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin are in the right. And we'll actually play a Smirconish clip later on. But first, let's have a little laugh, shall we? Colin, if you can play a bit of the SNL cold open for us.
So it's funny. I didn't watch the whole clip, but again, I doubt SNL. It would be nice if they bring in the lobbyists and all the business groups that are paying off. The Joe Manchin, who was expertly played, I forget her name, and Sinema. Secondly, on Biden in particular, something that I have not heard much about, Jen, I wonder about you. Weren't we told during the Democratic primary, but this guy was the deal maker, that this guy knew how to work across party lines, Democrat, Republican, to get things done? Well, Republicans won't do a damn thing, and Joe Biden's, apparent pragmatic deal-making charm isn't working. And apparently he can't even get Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema to do anything that he wants. So this was the pragmatic choice, who can't get Republicans to do anything and can't even get a wacky like winery intern like Kyrsten Sinema to do anything, or Joe Manchin. I don't know. It seems that Joe Biden, that was also manufacturing consent for the media, that Joe Biden was the pragmatic choice, who Bernie wouldn't be able to actually get anything done. But Joe Biden, who's made bipartisan deals as a senator for, the last century, he was the right choice. Well, I don't really see SNL mocking Biden for being in fetal position. I don't see the media criticizing Biden because they helped push the propaganda and lie that Biden was the pragmatic choice who could get things done.
Yeah, I have to say, I encourage everyone to watch the full cold open. It's almost 10 minutes long, and of course we can't play the full clip. But I would say that this is a case where they seem to have gotten it more than I thought they would. They're certainly not talking about the lobbyists. They're certainly not talking about the money that Kyrsten Sinema's gotten. But as it goes on, you see Joe Manchin, the character the person who's playing Joe Manchin as a character, saying like, oh, we need, this can't go through because we really need children in the mines, and the pieces. He's like, the pieces are little right now. We need little hands to get all the coal. And so they hit on truth, and they go on and do some more bits with Sinema, who I think is played by Cecily Strong. Not sure. By the way, I think AOC was played by Sarah Squirm. Again, I could be wrong by that, but everyone can take heart because Sarah Squirm is on our team, guys. She's a progressive. It's a kind of incredible that she's gotten on SNL. She's very progressive, very, Bernie policy focused, which is kind of cool. So all that is to say that we know that the media gets it. We know that the powers that be get it. We know that they see this. And the point in playing the SNL clip, whether you like SNL or not, it is just, the kind of the place to go for political comedy, spot on or not. And it has been since I've been quite young. And the fact that even though they won't go all the way, they're calling this out for what it is. And again, as it goes on, it gets more and more kind of in tune with what the people actually need and want, and what this bill means to people. I find that interesting when contrasted with news or things that people look to kind of form their own opinions. So they're putting it out there. They're willing to put it out there on NBC as a joke, right, on SNL. But they're not willing, by they I mean the corporate news folks, they're not willing to come out and say it. And Jordan, I don't know when we want to play this Merconish clip, but I think it's really illustrative of how these people work in the face of real legislation that could transform the lives of millions.
Yeah, I think we could play that clip because it's nauseating. So I hope you guys are not on an empty stomach. Here is CNN's, what is he? Independent, Michael Spurkanish. He's independent. She's independent. Here's him on why Manchin and Sinema are the heroes.
Senators Manchin and Sinema.
A message from the President of the United States.
Senators Manchin and Sinema, the problem or the solution? I'm Michael Smerconish in Philadelphia. It's been a roller coaster of a week in Washington as Democrats tried to advance a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill passed with bipartisan support and a more ambitious $3.5 trillion expansion of the societal safety net that lacks a single Republican supporter. In the end, Speaker Pelosi, having given problem solvers her word, still couldn't deliver a vote. There are 535 members of Congress, but two held the most sway: Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Senator Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona. The political game of chicken between House progressives and moderates was actually dependent upon these two senators, whose votes are needed for the larger package to get through the Senate via reconciliation, which requires every single Democratic vote plus Senators Manchin and Sinema. The problem or the solution? I'm Michael Smerconish. Advance a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill passed with bipartisan support and a more ambitious $3.5 trillion expansion of the societal safety net that lacks a single Republican supporter. In the end, Speaker Pelosi, having given problem solvers her word, still couldn't deliver a vote. There are 535 members of Congress, but two held the most sway: Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Senator Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona. The political game of chicken between House progressives and moderates was actually dependent upon these two senators, whose votes are needed for the larger package to get through the Senate via reconciliation, which requires every single Democratic vote plus Vice President Kamala Harris. Manchin released a statement earlier in the week, and he said this: "I can't support $3.5 trillion more in spending when we have already spent $5.4 trillion since last March. At some point, all of us, regardless of party, must ask the simple question, how much is enough? What I have made clear to the president and Democratic leaders is that spending trillions more on new and expanded government programs when we can't even pay for the essential social programs like Social Security and Medicare is the definition of fiscal insanity." Sinema held her cards closer to the vest, tweeting that in August, she had shared her detailed concerns and priorities, including dollar figures, with President Biden and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Here's an indication of her importance. This week, Biden and his aides met with Sinema 4 times in one day. For their attempts to grapple with the actual numbers and cost, both Sinema and Manchin incurred the wrath of the party's more progressive elements. But Manchin and Sinema are deserving of our praise, not our criticism. Their refusal to simply fall in line and instead exhibit some independence is both a rarity in Washington and a reflection of their diverse constituencies. Consider that Sinema's Arizona constituents pretty evenly divide between R's and D's and I's. In Manchin's case, he represents a state that Donald Trump won by nearly 39 points, and where R's and D's, R's outnumber the D's, and independents are about 1/5 of the population. Plus, who wouldn't want what's in the so-called Build Back Better plan? 2 free years of community college, child care and universal pre-K, Medicare expansion for dental, hearing, and vision, extended child tax credit, paid family and medical leave, clean electricity.
I can't take anymore. I can't take anymore. And by the way, just so you know, we're still waiting for our first member sign up on the website. Reminder, if you came to this late, this is a member drive, so keep signing up. It's right at the top and in the description, statuscoup.com/fall, statuscoup.com/fall. Click there, tell you how to sign up as a member and how to get your free Status Coup merchandise. We're doing free Status Coup merchandise for the whole month of October if you sign up as a member. So a few things, and I wrote this down. First of all, he mentioned the problem solvers. You know, Pelosi had agreed to a vote with the problem solvers. He's talking about the problem solvers caucus, which is a bunch of corporatist Republicans within the Democratic Party who are all bought off by big pharma, big banks, big oil, Silicon Valley. They're not problem solvers. They are problem puppets. That's who they are. So again, this guy, and there's key words he uses. So first, he extols the problem solvers who are not solving any problems. They are solving threats on behalf of corporations and the powerful. Then he said Manchin and Sinema should be praised for their independence. Well, what's independent? What is independent about what they're doing? You think they're independent, Michael Smerconish? You don't think it's relevant to mention the hoard of money that they are taking from big pharma, from big banks, coal, Joe Manchin? You don't think it's relevant to mention that Joe Manchin has made nearly $5 million in his 10 years as a senator from the coal company that he founded, and another 1 to 5 million additional in stock options from that coal company? This is the independence you're talking about? This is why I keep saying, folks, you need to protest the corporate media. They are 75% of the problem. They are who continually brainwashes, frankly, mostly older voters, excluding our wonderful older voters here, because not all older voters are naive and buying this bullshit. They are who brainwash the older people to keep going and voting for Hillary Clinton, Obama, and Biden. That's it. That's who brainwashes older people, who are the predominant audience on cable news, who frankly are the predominant demographic reading the New York Times and the Washington Post, to think that these are not actually corrupt, evil people, but independent people, problem solvers, courageous. It is absolute brainwashing and propaganda. And the other thing is, when he mentioned, oh, well, Manchin has to be this way. Trump won West Virginia by 30-something points. Yeah, well, we've been to West Virginia, and we're going to play some clips from that when we switch the topic to Manchin. Bernie won every county in West Virginia in 2016. Every county. So some would say, oh, it's because he was running against Hillary. You don't win every county in a state because they just want to vote against your opponent. Bernie won every county because the people in West Virginia loved what Bernie was selling. They love it because West Virginia, as recently as 10 years ago, had been a Democratic state for a century. West Virginia only recently moved to the right, in large part, and we're going to play this clip soon, because people like Joe Manchin has helped elevate Republicans in West Virginia. West Virginia is an old, blue-collar, union, labor state. They are economically populist. They might be culturally conservative on abortion and those kind of things, but economically, they're a populist citizenry. And part of why Trump was so popular in West Virginia, he was pushing a lot of the same things Bernie was economically. It's just that Bernie meant it and Trump was full of shit. So it's not only the direct propaganda, like the problem solvers and, oh, they're independent. The other thing is, none of these people do any reporting. So how would they know? He just assumes, well, Trump won West Virginia by 30-something points, so it's clearly a conservative state. Well, maybe if you got off your fucking ass, Michael Smerconish, and went to do any reporting in West Virginia, you would find out that most people in West Virginia support the $3.5 trillion reconciliation deal. I don't like using the term Build Back Better because it's a bullshit slogan and doesn't mean anything. It's just whatever slogan Biden's, corporate consultants put in his head during the primary. So that is 110% propaganda. It is lies. It is nonsense. You should not praise people who are depriving the people they're supposed to represent of health care, of education. She has not done anything for the Dreamers in Arizona, even though she ran on doing stuff for the Dreamers in Arizona. She is depriving people of affordable housing, which there's a lot of money for that in the $3.5 trillion reconciliation deal. Universal pre-K, paid family leave. That's not independent. That's corrupt. And he's an asshole. Sorry, Jen.
No, absolutely. I of course agree. I think it also has to be said that Kyrsten Sinema's personal income has dramatically skyrocketed since she's become a senator. And so as we track her movement away from Green Party, away from leading protests for the people, we have to look at how her bank account has been affected. And it's very clear at this point that it's been affected in a way that she's not, lobbying for the people. She's not fighting for the people at all. I also want to point out that when on these mainstream shows, Smirconish or NPR or PBS or CNN or MSNBC, whatever, so and even starting from Congress, starting from the Senate, they're using the dollar figure, right? The $3.5 trillion. So I think it's interesting also to kind of track how and why they do this. When the Congressional Budget Office comes up with these figures of what things are going to cost and what things are going to do and how it all kind of rolls together financially, that's then taken by opponents of certain legislation. That's taken by mainstream media sources, etc., to shoot things down that help the people. So if truly people in Congress, in the Senate, in the mainstream media wanted legislation that benefits the people, they would focus on what the bill contains, on what this reconciliation bill contains, on what the infrastructure bill contains. They don't. Instead, when it comes to the reconciliation bill, especially, it's the $3.5 trillion. And so there are many ways to spin things to get to the result you want, right? So one way to spin this positively, to put out, so-called positive propaganda, because propaganda doesn't always have to be negative, would be to talk about what this brings to people, would be to talk about the free community college, universal pre-K, the child tax credit, Medicare expansion, etc. They would talk about those things. They don't. What they talk about is the cost. And this happens over and over again. And often when the CBC, the budget office in Congress comes out with these estimations of things, and it's used in a negative way against the people. Now, this doesn't happen anywhere near the same way when it comes to costs of war, when it comes to the military industrial complex. It just so happens to pop up when you're talking about legislation that would benefit real people. And this has gotten, people talk about, FDR and how things got passed back then, and how some of, he was not perfect by any means. Internment, no, not great. But when people talk about the most effective, most important legislation of our times, FDR is brought up. And that's why Bernie Sanders has called this, the reconciliation package, the most crucial of our time. But now we have such a machine. We have the 6 main media puppet masters, and we have a Congress and we have a Senate that's beholden to donors. And we can especially highlight Manchin and Sinema. So none of it works out in the favor of the people. So I think it's really kind of illustrative to look at a Smirconish, to look at all these media figures who are talking about this and who are making excuses for Sinema and Manchin, in showing its true face, what's really happening here. And what's really happening is they're using this $3.5 trillion figure, which actually, if you wanted to propagandize it in a different way, you would simply break it down by year, which is, pretty palatable in comparison. So you have a Manchin going on national media and saying, oh, well, we can't even pay for Social Security. How are we supposed to pay for the rest of these, social safety nets? And the answer is, well, the same way that we pay for the MIC and everything that the lobbyists want, the same way. That's how we do it. but media doesn't push back on that, and it's because they don't care.
I want to move on to Joe Manchin. By the way, we have reporting that we did on Friday on Stephen Donziger. I was there, so we're going to show some of that in a little bit. A lot of other things to discuss. As we said at the top, this live stream is a membership drive. We're going to be doing a lot more membership drive live streams. The point is to get more membership signups. After this live stream, we'll be doing a members only live stream. You'll get the link for that if you're a member, where you can ask your questions, all that. We need you. So there's almost 200 people watching. I know there's folks in here who aren't members yet. Sign up, statuscoup.com/fall, FALL. Before, if you sign up this month, you'll get free Status Coup merchandise. We got t-shirts, posters, sweatshirts. We really need to grow our membership. Somebody asked a good question, Jen, so I wanted to answer them. So this was Fat Damon. Are there any benefits you get by becoming YouTube member versus Status Coup website membership?
Yeah, so we do try to give the same perks to those who have joined via YouTube. But the reality is YouTube does not give us, when you join as a member on YouTube, they don't give us your email address, for example. And email is one of the main ways that we're able to send out extra member content and really keep up with you. So absolutely. And also because we control it, and who knows if YouTube's going to kick our asses out or not eventually for reporting truth. Our recommended way is statuscoup.com/fall.
Absolutely.
And you'll get everything there. We really love our members. You guys are literally the reason why we're able to break stories on the Flint water crisis and travel to report around the country.
And like, for example, correct me if I'm wrong, but we do a monthly members call through Zoom with our website members. We have their emails because they sign up to our website. So we just send the Zoom link to their email. So YouTube members, although you do get perks as a YouTube member, we don't have your emails, so we can't email you the members call and things like that.
I try to put up, the Zoom link on the YouTube. So when you join as a YouTube member, you get access to members only posts, but on YouTube. So I do try to post the link there, but I have no way of emailing you as a YouTube member. So yeah, statuscoup.com/fall.
And as a YouTube member, I believe you are able to use special stickers and stuff like that.
Yeah, emojis. Yeah, you can. There's like a Jordan confused emoji and a Jen emoji and a Bernie emoji. There's the Jordan confused one there if you see me posting that in the chat box. But yeah, as a YouTube subscriber, member, you do get access to some like YouTube only things. But as far as everything we offer, the be all end all is our website membership.
Absolutely. So definitely sign up. We'd love to start shouting out new members. We've gotten a couple through YouTube, but not yet through our website. So sign up, share this live stream. I want to move on to Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin. For those of you that watched on Friday, unfortunately, it's what it is. I guess we had Ryan Grimm on. I guess his wife was not available in terms of childcare. Usually when he does interviews, his children aren't like wrapped around him. So there was a little issue like hearing what he was saying because his kids were kind of screaming this and that. So in this clip, Colin did a good job of trying to get the noise out, but you might hear a couple things. I wasn't going to, while live, yell at Ryan, like, get rid of your kids. So I was kind of in a tough spot because I didn't want to be rude and be like, hey, can you tell your daughter to go play? But
are you kidding, Jordan?
I said I didn't want to be rude.
To all parents out there, laugh at Jordan right now, immediately.
Well, people were yelling at me like, why are you doing an interview with his kids there? I'm like, how would I know that his kids were going to be there?
We all can't wait until Jordan and Anat have kids and he sees what real shit is.
So, but I want to play this clip because Ryan made a really smart point, and this is really the elephant in the room. It is, you'll never see it uttered by Michael Smerconish. You'll never seen it talked about on CNN, but I asked Ryan, why is there no mention of the money that these people are legally taking bribes? And that's the reason they are blocking this. And Ryan made a good point. Let's play it. It just seems to me at this point, it is just so absurd that the media is reporting about Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema like moderates. They just, they're just dealing with a conservative state. I barely heard anything that Sinema just raised almost $1 million from big pharma and dark money. I think David Sirota and others broke that. Intercept just broke a pretty big story that Manchin has made $4.5 million from this coal company while he's been a senator. I think another between $1 million and $5 million in stock options. Like, this isn't like a little finger note in the story. This is instrumental to why is it they are blocking this, and you see no mention of this. I think you guys also covered the fact that 3 House Democrats, I just call them Republicans, they're blocking the lowering drug prices, and they're getting all this money, like not over their career, like right now. So I don't know. You're a reporter there. Is this just like, do the people at CNN and MSNBC just think this is unimportant, or it's designed not to talk about those things?
Mainstream reporters think it's rude.
Oh.
Like they think it's impolite. It's untoward
to talk about money in politics,
that sort of thing, because you're besmirching somebody's good character. What are you suggesting by this? Manchin got asked yesterday about his coal company for the first time, really, by a Capitol Hill reporter, and it was a really tense exchange. Manchin said, "Look, it's in a blind trust," which is absurd.
Right.
It's a company,
just like Trump's money was in a blind trust.
Right. It's still a Trump organization. Like, you know what you own. It's not like a mutual fund that you're just allowing your broker to like buy and sell stocks. Like, it's a coal company. Like, you know what it does. And the reporter said, "Well, you still get dividends from it." And Manchin's like, said, "I don't want to hear, I don't want to hear anything about it." And the reporter said, "Well, your son still owns it, right? He's the president and CEO." And Manchin told him, "You best change the subject."
Wow.
Like, just straight up, you best change the subject. So
basically the 500,000-pound elephant in the room. If they dare bring it up, they're scolded, and basically they're afraid for loss of access, I would assume.
Some could be, yeah, or also just a loss of prestige among colleagues. Like,
right.
Like, oh, it brands you as an unserious, type of person.
So, and to be clear, since Jen has besmirched me, I am not suggesting to, just send your kids to the guillotine or put them in the closet.
The
Obviously,
kids are like literally not an issue. You're crazy. This is gonna everyone.
Actually, you should read. No. You should read the chat.
No, everybody save this clip for when Jordan's kids are like 3 years old.
Well,
and shove it in his face.
Well, that's just not true, because the chat was complaining nonstop because
I yelled at them
because you couldn't hear what he was saying but whatever. It is what it is. Love Ryan. Would happily have him back. Don't agree with people who have said he's a sellout and a fraud.
No,
I think he does good reporting. I don't agree with everything the Intercept does, but like, that shouldn't be the bar. Like, you better. We should be in all agreement all the time, or you're done. But I think what he described is the issue, and it goes back to what I've been saying. How come there is no protests against corporate media outlets? So these reporters, because they're all very, very wealthy, and they probably, in their bones, probably think, "Oh no, I mean, that's just poppycock." They're not, they take money, but they're not like making decisions based on that money. Because like, these people are wealthy, these reporters, and they, like the Senate and these kind of things, they live in their own, these journalists. There's norms and there's civility, and we don't want to suggest that, these people might be not on the up and up and might be corrupt. Well, what do you call it during a major budget battle that Kyrsten Sinema is pausing to do fundraisers in DC and in Arizona with major business lobbying groups trying to kill the bill. What would you call that? That's about as corrupt and bribery as it comes. So I wanted to play that Ryan Grimm clip because then let's fast forward to the brave Bloomberg reporter. I mean, that's an oxymoron. Colin, if you have those tweets, a reporter from Bloomberg actually dared to ask Joe Manchin about the money that he is making from coal and whether that's influencing things. And boy, was that a no-no for a reporter to dare ask Joe Manchin about the blinking red light corruption as to why he is blocking healthcare, education, affordable housing, climate proposals, free community college, and many other things. Colin, if you could show that tweet here. So Manchin asked by Ari Natter of Bloomberg whether an energy company he founded, is a conflict of interest as he negotiates reconciliation. Manchin, it's been in a blind trust for 20 years. I don't know what they're doing. Yeah, my son owns it now. My son runs it. I don't know what they're doing though. Ari, you're still getting dividends. Manchin, you got a problem? What is this, a duel? You got the next one, Colin? So the reporter asked him, is you making millions and millions of dollars from your coal company have anything to do with you trying to kill climate provisions? He says, oh, I don't know anything about that. Oh, you got a problem? Ari Natter, regarding the energy company Manchin founded, your son still owns it, doesn't he? Manchin, you do best to change the subject. You do best to change the subject, meaning that could mean a lot of things. I don't believe Manchin is going to hit the Bloomberg reporter over the head with a 2x4. I don't believe that. But will he be calling Bloomberg to shun this reporter for daring to ask him about his it's not even a conflict of interest. This is corruption. You are literally, Intercept broke this. Joe Manchin has made $4.5 million over 10 years as a senator from this coal company, and another $1 to $5 million in stock options. Yet he's talking about, well, no, it's just about the debt. We can't do this bill. Oh, it's just about, fiscal insanity. We can't do this bill. The infrastructure deal, this bipartisan infrastructure deal that the media has made into this magical thing, it's really $500 billion. It's not $1.2 trillion. And it's really privatization on steroids. It's not even at all close to what we need financially for infrastructure in this country. But that got watered down from $2 trillion to $500 billion in new money by Manchin and Sinema and these other people. And what got taken out, Jen? The climate proposals that were in it. So there you see, Ryan Grimm takes us behind the scenes saying, yeah, no, it's considered rude. You're not considered a serious journalist if you dare mention the legal bribes that they're taking. And then a reporter dares ask Joe Manchin. And by the way, he was only asking directly about his coal company. He wasn't asking about all the money he takes from other coal companies and fossil fuckers. And that reporter sure got a lashing. And this is why I've said, Jen, this is why older people who generally are the dominant age group watching CNN, MSNBC, reading the New York Times, the Washington Post, this is why they're brainwashed. This is why they're complacent. This is why they continually vote for, well, it's better than nothing candidates. And, enjoy your crumbs, millennials and Gen Z or whatever the hell it is, because there is no reporting on the corruption, barely any reporting on the corruption. I'm not a big, we're not copacetic these days, but one of the reasons I gravitated to Cenk and the Young Turks in the first place, back then, they were the only people talking about this. They were only people talking about money in politics and corruption in politics. I don't really know what the hell they're talking about now. It's other things. But this isn't even the elephant in the room. This is the stampede in the room, that they are legally taking bribes in exchange for destroying the planet, depriving, in this case, older people of expanded health care, depriving parents of free pre-K, depriving families of paid family leave. For what? For these coal companies. In Sinema's case, who the hell knows? She probably, it doesn't even seem, Jen, that she wants the rerun. It sounds to me she wants one of these business people to buy her a few wineries that she could go drink at and maybe run. It's just disgusting. And kudos to that Bloomberg reporter. I don't know if he got a talking to after that, but we need to see a lot more of this, and we need to see activists and protesters shaming the corporate media, essentially for hiding this level of corruption.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to the media and what we've been talking about and showing you.
Jen, I have an announcement.
Yes, sir.
Welcome new Status Coup member Sabrina. Woo-hoo! I love you. So
welcome.
Sabrina just signed up through our website, hopefully through statuscoup.com/fall. So Sabrina, email us, info@statuscoup.com, so we could set up your free merchandise. And others should be like Sabrina. Go sign up right now. We're now at 1,790 members. So our goal is to hit 2,000 before the end of the year. So Sabrina's getting us a little closer, and I help.
October.
Oh, if we could by the end of October, that would be wonderful. But thank you, Sabrina, signing up as a new member. 1,790 now. Other people, again, sign up. statuscoup.com/fall. Jen.
Sabrina, I have a real soft spot in my heart for Sabrina's. Apropos of growing up with Sabrina the Teenage Witch. So major kudos to you for joining, and you're incredible, and everyone should follow suit. statuscoup.com/fall. You can sign up for yourself and get merch. You can sign up your neighbor, your friend, your family member, your enemy, and submit for free merch. All you need is a different email address than you've already signed up with. If you indeed are already a member, we welcome all members of all types as low as $5 a month. statuscoup.com/fall. There's a reason we're doing this drive. We really want to take Status Coup to the next level. We want to attract progressive investors. We want to be able to travel more. We want to be able to hire people. We want to be able to hire additional marketers, including in the Midwest, in the South, etc. We want to take Status Coup to the next level. statuscoup.com/fall and get some free swag, print, shirt, sweatshirt, depending on the level you sign up for. And it's definitely well worth it. There are so many bonuses, so many extras, etc., including if you sign up as a member, you will get access to a bonus Ask Us Anything stream that we're going to do just for members. So statuscoup.com/fall. I do want to point out, on the points you brought up, Fat Damon says, do we get the free merch if we renewed our expired membership? Sure. Email us at info@statuscoup.com and simply submit your info, just like we've said.
And can I maybe this is what you're about to point out, Jen, the paused memberships?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Jen, I don't know why. I don't know if it's like a technical thing or maybe some people's payments didn't go through. At the moment, we probably have, Jen, like 100 paused memberships?
Yeah, it's at 150. It's wild.
Yeah, like 150 memberships that are showing up paused. So I don't think those people were like mad and just like paused. Generally, these days, if people get pissed off or they're not in agreement on all things, they just cancel. So definitely, if you're a member, check if your membership is currently active, because for some reason, there's a lot of memberships that are paused. And trust me, 150 memberships that are paused, if we could get even a half of those back, we'd be in much better shape. So Jen, how can people check?
Yeah, so if you are a member, please go to statuscoup.com/account and double check your membership. Make sure it's not paused, make sure it's all good to go. For whatever reason, especially with so you can subscribe either through PayPal or Stripe. So for whatever reason, PayPal folks who are signed up to pay with that, have been showing up as paused more than we've ever seen. So we think it's some kind of technical thing. So especially if you are paying monthly with PayPal, just take a second and double check. StatusCoup.com/account, and you can check and make sure everything is good to go. And again, I want to emphasize that the holidays are coming up no matter what you celebrate, and you can certainly grab a membership for someone else in addition to the one you already have. StatusCoup.com/fall.
Absolutely. And I think you were responding to something I said, but I don't remember.
Well, I was just going to say that I don't think people realize how bad it's gotten as far as the landscape for Zoomers and younger, and the landscape for millennials and even Gen X. When you think about all of the changes that have been brought about over recent decades, including and maybe even especially with the media under Bill Clinton. Now we have a media that is so in tune with itself and corporate profits that there's no incentive for them to report the truth. It's been dramatically condensed, or it was dramatically condensed under Clinton. And income inequality has just gotten to insane levels. And I don't think the vast majority of people realize that or recognize that. What the 99% is earning versus what the top 1% and even the top 1% of the 1% is earning is insane compared to what the average everyday person is earning. This is something that Bernie Sanders highlighted throughout his campaigns, but I think it deserves to be emphasized over and over again. That is what the media companies and the politicians, those that are, in the pocket of lobbyists and corporations, that's what they're fighting against, is the people realizing this and doing something about it. So when we talk about the reconciliation bill, the infrastructure bill, this is kind of, what we're up against. And it's hard to find any mainstream outlet that will report the truth. So while it might have been, much easier, of course, it wasn't super easy for great legislation.
Unknown caller.
Like FDR, etc. It's dramatically harder now. So it really takes people power. It really takes people standing up against this.
Absolutely. So I want to switch topics and keep sharing this live stream. If you haven't yet, I wanted to switch. We'll get back to Manchin, but I did want to cover and address the coverage we did on Friday, which again, this kind of reporting is because of you. Colin, if you have the mashup ready, if you don't know, Stephen Donziger, who is the human rights attorney that has been just absolutely railroaded by Chevron, by friendly judges to Chevron, private prosecutors who have Chevron connections. He was sentenced on Friday to 6 months in prison after he's already served 2 years under house arrest. And no, it's not like time served. It's actually 6 months in prison. They are appealing it. So currently he is out, still under house arrest while this is appealed. I was out there for several hours on Friday covering a rally before his sentencing hearing. Then I was live during the sentencing from outside, kind of updating the audience. And then afterwards, when Stephen Donziger came out with his lawyers and Roger Waters and a whole bunch of people, we also covered that. We just want to show you kind of the highlights of that, and then we could kind of talk about it.
I was in court recently when you presided over the so-called trial of Stephen Donziger, who was being privately prosecuted at the behest of your colleague, Judge Lewis A. Kaplan, on contempt of court charges. Your handling of the proceedings was execrable. You deserve no tear in front of your name. I feel no warmth towards you. You are not dear to me. So I ask you, might that be
proverbial 2x4 between the eyes will instill in him any respect for the law.
Wow.
So deterring Mr. Donziger from similar conduct in the future requires, in the court's view, a serious punishment. In sum, Mr. Donziger has spent the last 7+ years thumbing his nose at the U.S. judicial system. It's now time to pay the piper. Accordingly, it is my intention to impose a sentence of 6 months imprisonment.
She kind of left out key details, like, Mr. Waters said that they had rehearsed that one witness 53 times. They paid for his family to come over, that Judge Kaplan himself had ties to Chevron. It just seems like there's a lot of personal animosity here that I've never heard in a misdemeanor before.
Well, there is a lot of personal animosity by Judge Preska and Judge Kaplan and Chevron. I mean, they're angry that I think they're angry for various reasons. Fundamentally, that I help indigenous peoples hold a large American company accountable for massive environmental crimes in the Amazon. I mean, they don't want an American lawyer, particularly one from their world, who went to Harvard Law School doing that kind of work. They're angry. They're almost angrier at me than if I had actually taken a pickaxe and murdered 10 people. I mean, I really feel that.
I found documents showing that Chevron, Texaco unit, the president of Texaco, personally ordered the destruction of documents showing that Chevron Texaco had dumped sludge in the indigenous areas. I mean, they literally said, remove the documents and destroy them. Destroy them is their word.
So that was just some of my reporting on Friday. We have a longer, I think it's like 12 minutes, mashup that's up on the channel now. So definitely check out that. I have my full interview with Greg Palast, who's an incredible independent journalist. Love that fedora he so wonderfully wears. But honestly, it was really something covering this because to me, there's a few things to this. Number one, if you followed Stephen Donziger's case very closely, it is very in the weeds. It does kind of get complicated. But at the end of the day, it is one unprecedented legal thing after the next. He was not afforded a jury trial, which is fairly unusual. A federal prosecutor declined to prosecute him. But Judge Lewis Kaplan, who had investments in Chevron, yet did not recuse himself in the Donziger case. Again, the judge had investments in Chevron. Instead of accepting the federal prosecutor's decision not to prosecute Donziger and just let it go, he outsourced it and basically brought on a private law firm that has done work with Chevron to prosecute Stephen Donziger. So when you call it a Chevron prosecution, it literally is a private prosecutor and law firm that has done work on behalf of Chevron. Then you have the current judge, Loretta Preska, who I listened to most of her long-winded novel while sentencing Stephen Donziger, which included hitting him in between the eyes with a 2x4, and you need to pay the piper. And her kind of making it seem like his 2-year house arrest was pretty casual and he could come and go as he pleased, which was just not at all true. And it seems like this is a corporate prosecution. The other thing that is just galling is as part of why they have continued this farce of a prosecution against Donziger, which, again, if you don't know, Donziger was a human rights attorney. He, along with his team, successfully prosecuted Chevron in Ecuador. Chevron had dumped billions of gallons of its waste in waterways in Ecuador in the Amazon, which poisoned the water, and people drank it, got sick, died. People are still suffering decades later from that in Ecuador. And instead of Chevron deciding to pay the $9.5 billion settlement, they've went on a holy corporate crusade for a decade against Stephen Donziger. But what's amazing to me is the judge kept on citing this absurd, evidence-free conviction against Donziger for allegedly Donziger paying off the judge in Ecuador who issued a ruling in favor of Donziger. That was the whole thing, that Chevron, instead of paying for this, they sued Donziger in New York, where he lives, and claiming that he bribed the Ecuadorian judge. And that is why the Ecuadorian judge ruled against Chevron. What was their evidence of this? One witness, the Ecuadorian judge, who Chevron just happened to pay $2 million to move over the judge and his family to America, and just happened to have rehearsed the judge, i.e. trained the judge what to say and how to lie, 53 times. 53 times before the judge, or before that judge was to testify. And that judge who testified that Donziger bribed him, this and that, it came out later that he was lying. So that, based on that, they filed the Judge Lewis Kaplan, who sided with Chevron. So Chevron got out of paying any damages, at least in the U.S., for poisoning the Ecuador. Judge Lewis Kaplan, again, who has investments or had investments in Chevron, he basically held Donziger in contempt based on that completely bogus witness who, again, basically was paid by Chevron to come over here, rehearsed by Chevron to lie. There is no actual evidence that Donziger bribed the judge or anything like that. And that is why they ordered Stephen Donziger to hand over his laptops, his phones, his communications with clients based on that bribery charge, that fraud charge. Donziger said, no, I'm not handing over my devices, which have all of my communications with my clients, which in law is called attorney-client privilege, and it's supposed to be privileged and confidential. So that is what that judge, Loretta Praska, was ranting about and indignant about, and that Donziger has completely disregarded the law by refusing to hand over his attorney-client confidential communications. That's not disrespecting the law. That is following the law. That would be like asking me, yeah, hand over your communications with your sources for whatever story. Of course I wouldn't do that. And lawyers wouldn't do that. So this has been an absolute farce of a prosecution. And as Greg Palast, investigative reporter, who, by the way, reported in Ecuador on some of this, he said Chevron even destroyed documents. They destroyed documents showing that they had released all this waste, killing people in the Amazon. Is Chevron on trial? Of course not. Of course not. Chevron's not on trial. But Stephen Donziger, after 2 years under house arrest, is now facing 6 months in prison. And by the way, before this ruling on Friday, the United Nations, a five-panel judges, so a panel of 5 international judges, they ruled for, or they advised for the judge to let Donziger go, and for financial compensation to Donziger for the 2 years of house arrest. He's been disbarred. He has been disbarred also, so he can't practice law. And the judge still prosecuted him 6 months in jail. So that is under appeal. That is under appeal. And it's just disgusting. And honestly, it was good to see before he went in, there was about, I don't know, I'd say 100 protesters outside. Stephen Donziger's case has not gotten any attention from the corporate media. The New York Times has ignored it, even though he's in New York. They have not covered it. I don't think the Washington Post, others have. I don't believe any politicians are speaking out. There was a letter written by AOC and some others, but that's about it. But this, it's not the exact same thing as Julian Assange, but make no mistake about it. In the case of Julian Assange, they are criminalizing anti-war journalists who publish war crimes. And in the case of Donziger, they are criminalizing environmental advocacy. They are criminalizing environmental legal work. They, just like they have been trying to criminalize environmental protest for many years in this country. I was at Standing Rock. I have the scars to tell you about them trying to criminalize that kind of protest. So it's disgusting. I don't think this will be the end of it. I don't know if Donziger will win his appeal. I hope he does. But at the end of the day, we need to keep covering this, because this is not just about Stephen Donziger. This is about living in the United Corporations of America. This is about living in the United Corporations of America, where these corporations, they have all the power and money to reverse it and make the human rights lawyers who courageously go against them for their environmental genocide, they reverse it to make the human rights attorneys the criminals. How does that work? In the case of Julian Assange, they've reversed it to make him the criminal, rather than the generals, the politicians that committed war crimes in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's just disgusting. We'll continue covering it. But again, this is the kind of stuff that why we really, really need and appreciate our members, because the more members we have, the more we can cover these kind of stories on the ground. We got to pay a cameraman to shoot that event for stuff that we travel outside of New York, whether it be Flint, whether it be over the summer. We took that road trip covering evictions and homelessness, and went to West Virginia to cover Joe Manchin's corruption. We went to Kentucky to interview Breonna Taylor's family about the ongoing cover-up of her murder. This is what your membership does. It funds actual on-the-ground reporting in a endless sea of punditry and people bloviating from studios. So keep signing up, statuscoup.com/fall. You are funding that reporting and reporting to come. We'd love to get more members. I know you were gone for that, Jen, but as I was telling them, this is about way more than just Stephen Donziger.
Absolutely. You know, that coverage was incredible and important. And I have to say, you know, even though this happens all the time, the fact that you showed up to this and there were very few to no other outlets covering it is crazy to me. And Stephen has talked about the fact that the New York Times is very close to where he lives and that they have not covered it for a very long time. So that status quo is there, that you were there, Jordan, is so important. There's a reason that other outlets did not want to cover this. And there's a reason that it is so important to cover. And so that is what we do here at Status Coup, statuscoup.com/fall to join and to support continued reporting like this.
And before post-game, because we're doing a members-only live stream right after this, we just got another sign-up. Welcome, Keith. New Status Coup member Keith just signed up. Keith. So we're now at 1,791 Status Coup members. So that's, I think, two new members through the website, a couple through YouTube. So keep signing up.
3 or 4 through YouTube.
Yes.
Guy.
So keep signing up, statuscoup.com/fall. And a reminder, email us, info@statuscoup.com. New members, email us, info@statuscoup.com. Go to statuscoup.com/fall. Once you sign up at whatever level of membership, email us so we could set up the free merchandise you're going to get. As Jen has said, we're going to lose money like at the front because we have to pay for the merchandise for you. But we hope through gaining more members in the long term, we will grow and, make more, obviously, for the reporting. Before we go to the members only live stream.
Well, yeah. So there are a couple more things to go over before we head over. I do want to show, Colin, if you can pop up the Larry Hogan protest in Annapolis. Let's talk about that. Pull up the, well, the, oh, yeah, the WBAL TV article. Sorry, my friends. Okay, so we all know that the eviction crisis is reaching a real peak. And it's just getting worse and worse now that the moratorium is over, even though that there were plenty of loopholes throughout that. So we think it's very important to highlight that there are folks who are protesting against this, who are coming together. And honestly, I think that this is catching in the way that the more other communities see people doing this, the more they will do it, and that it can really, really take off across the country. So definite kudos to those who are taking action. This is out of a local Baltimore station, WBAL. Protesters, lawmakers rally in Annapolis calling for Hogan to stop evictions. So I live in Maryland. Larry Hogan is our governor. And the coronavirus pandemic continues its ripple effect on thousands of Marylanders as many renters face eviction. That's why a few dozen protesters took to the state capitol, demanding Governor Larry Hogan to save them from possible homelessness. Protesters and some lawmakers said they plan to sleep overnight on the steps of St. Anne's Parish, right across from the governor's mansion, with a clear message to Hogan: stop Marylanders from being evicted. And so this was on the 1st that this was written, just so folks have that context. Dozens packed Lawyers Mall with a point to make their voices heard to the governor. There are so many tenants who are struggling to pay. Governor Hogan's order expired last month. Or excuse me, struggling to pay, and then Governor Hogan's order expired last month. The CDC order, the protections on the federal level have expired. And right now, we are calling on him to reinstate that order because we do not want anyone evicted during this time, said Catherine Paul of CASA. Those demands come October 1st, when most people would be paying rent. Instead, organizers said hundreds of thousands of Marylanders impacted by the pandemic face eviction while the state is sitting on federal dollars to prevent that from happening. And as a side note, that's something we've heard over and over again in multiple states, multiple locations, that these dollars that are supposed to go toward helping tenants, toward those who can't afford to pay their rent, are actually being used for other things or are being used nefariously. This article continues on. If he doesn't want to reinstitute the moratorium fully, he's got a few other options. He can simply say, if you've applied for federal rental assistance money, you can't be evicted. He could force landlords to accept free money. So that is in reference to the fact that some of these dollars go straight to landlords, and they can choose to accept it or not. They can choose to evict those renters that the money is supposed to be earmarked for. The article continues on. It baffles me why landlords don't want to accept 15 months worth of free money. But that's what's happening right now across the state, said Delegate Vaughn Stewart of District 19. That's why the group CASA, along with some lawmakers, gathered in Annapolis Friday night to draw attention to their cause. They said as federal protections for renters have expired, they're calling on Hogan to do something to prevent many people from possible homelessness. It's getting colder outside. I do not want to see anyone else sleeping outside, Paul said. And lawmakers who showed up to the rally Friday night said if Hogan doesn't take action, they'll bring their concerns to the General Assembly. So I want to give some context. So Maryland is a state that has a vast, spectrum of wealth, let's say. So from the very, very poor to some of the very richest, and I believe the last time I looked, Montgomery County is the wealthiest county in the United States. That is a DC suburb, and there are, several, or a few, let's say, DC suburbs that are extraordinarily wealthy. And then it depends if you on the Eastern Shore or Western Maryland or whatever. So there's a huge spectrum, but it's also a state that has a lot going for it because of its proximity to the nation's capital. So Carlos Childs, who is actually he's a candidate for state delegate in Maryland's 28th district, and he is also a state organizing director for Our Revolution Maryland. So Carlos wrote me, and I was not able to attend this protest, but he sent me some footage and video, some context for it, along with photos. So Colin, pop that up and let's see what happened at this protest from Carlos. While we're looking for that, Carlos, is really kind. We really appreciate it when people write us and say, here's what's happening. We'd love if you can make it. And it's, in my opinion, exceptionally kind when people are able to send us things. So if something like this is happening in your area, we definitely want to know about it for sure. Because again, like going back to something I referenced earlier, this is catching. If people see people making strides towards protesting, in front of a Governor Hogan or whatever, see people organizing, that can really make an impact. So hold on one second. Making sure we have these clips. One second. Making sure.
By the way, while we're waiting, if you remember over the summer, we covered on the road. We were on the road for 2 weeks covering mass evictions that had already been happening throughout the whole pandemic. So there was this notion that the federal eviction moratorium prevented people from being evicted. Well, no, because it had more loopholes than a roller coaster. We were meeting in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Kentucky, and West Virginia, people that were evicted during the pandemic for things like their lease was up and the landlord didn't re-sign it, for things like nuisance violations, which are just bullshit violations landlords come up with to kick you out. So landlords were finding ways to evict people other than non-payment, because non-payment was supposed to be protected during the pandemic. And we found, particularly in Louisville, it seems all the landlords, all these real estate developers are essentially one and the same with the local city governments. They are either part of city government somehow, have positions, like real estate developers have positions on city councils, or city councils are making eviction rules following the real estate developers, what they want. And it just so happens the real estate developers are flooding the city council people with cash. So this has been going on basically for years, i.e. urban renewal, i.e. urban redevelopment. And it's been going on during the pandemic, and it's going on now since the eviction moratorium has expired.
Absolutely. While we're getting those other clips, Colin, can you pop up the Yang statement? Let's come back to evictions and this Annapolis protest, and let's talk about a couple other things. We definitely won't spend as much time on these, but let's see what's happening out there. So, sorry guys, we're on a new program, so it's hard to see when things are not as easy as our other program. But while you're waiting, you can go to statuscoup.com/fall and get some free Status Coup swag. Everything is explained on that page.
I think we should do the Manchin thing while we're waiting.
What do you mean?
The Manchin topic. Unless you were going to Andrew Yang, I think.
Yeah.
Whatever you want. I just wanted to show some of the on-the-ground stuff we've done on Manchin, connected to his absurdity right now.
For sure. Yeah, I just thought we were circling back to that. I don't know what.
Well, I don't know what the tech thing is.
Yeah. So Collins pulled up the Andrew Yang article. Should I go with this?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So Andrew Yang, as you guys probably heard, he came out with a new book. And while he, at the same exact time that he came out with this new book, he said he's going to form a third party. Okay. So people were dubious. I'm all for third parties. I believe we need several parties in order to have, a true democracy. But here's what Andrew Yang has done, which doesn't seem in line with what he said before. So this is a statement released today called "Breaking Up with the Democratic Party." And he's like really trying to show that he's sad about this, that this was a hard experience, and on and on. So he says, "I changed my voting registration from Democrat to Independent today. It was a strangely emotional experience." I'm sure, Andrew Yang. "I registered as a Democrat back in 1995 when I was 20 years old to vote for Bill Clinton's re-election. It was a no-brainer for me. I went to a college that was very liberal. I lived in New York City. Everyone around me was a Democrat. Bill Clinton versus Bob Dole. Clinton was one of the youngest presidents when he was elected and seemed more in tune to me as a 20-year-old. Keep in mind that I grew up the son of immigrants and my family did not talk about politics at all growing up. I still have no idea how or even if my parents voted." And he keeps going. He talks about how he was a staunch Democrat as a, when he was in his 20s and so on, that he was drawn to national races. He co-hosted a John Kerry fundraiser. So then we get to 2016. He says, "I donated to Bernie Sanders' campaign. Everything he said struck me as true, but then voted for Hillary Clinton against Trump. When Trump won, I was surprised and took it as a red flag and a call to action. Having spent 6 years working in the Midwest and the South, I believed I had some insight as to what had driven Trump's victory. I spent several years making the case for what I believed was the major policy that could address it, universal basic income." So he talks about his, experience running for president, then his experience running for mayor of New York City. So he goes on to say, after all those experiences, "And yet I'm confident that no longer being a Democrat is the right thing." And he says he's not telling you to change, but he says, "While it was simply a small piece of paperwork, I genuinely felt a shift in my mindset as soon as I signed it. My goal is to do as much as I can to advance our society." He goes on and on. "I believe I can reach people who are outside the system more effectively. I feel more independent." And he continues to say that he's working for impact. And he thinks that now, registering as an independent, that he can have an even greater impact. So I just wanted to bring this up because, we got a lot of hell, to be honest, for telling people the truth about Yang during the primary, and some of the kind of red flags that popped up. That he kind of seemed like, a bro who was an opportunist. And I have to say, a lot of that has come true. A lot of our kind of predictions or worries have come true. Yeah, really, this is an update on Yang, and I have to say I feel sorry for Yang Gang #Yang Gang members who feel misled. I don't think it's a bad thing that Yang is registered as an independent. Maybe it can, drive others to do the same thing and show that, show the Democratic Party that they don't have a monopoly on people's politics on the left or the almost left. Yeah, I just really want people to kind of beware of who they follow. These like political personalities that seem great, but have other things in mind. I don't know what you think, Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, people can, like one thing like UBI. You have to see what's underneath the hood. He was never for a $15 minimum wage. And it didn't even sound like he was for a minimum wage. He was no friend of labor unions, which to me, if, maybe you're not calling yourself a progressive, but if you are for working people, you should be very pro-labor, not the other way. And he always just kind of reeked of a tech bro to me. So I'm not against UBI. I think it would be a good thing. But his form of UBI, if you looked into it, was, giving people X amount of money a month, but taking away other programs from them. And his form of UBI didn't really take into consideration, okay, you give people an extra $1,000 a month. What are you going to do when all these corporations just raise their prices and inflation from that extra $1,000 a month? So, yeah, I mean, I think Andrew Yang, from what I saw, was very interested in getting into elected office. Maybe in his head, he wanted to help people. I'm sure that was sincere, but I think he was more focused on getting into office. And as far as I could tell, he was never a friend of the workers, shall I say. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So we'll yeah, that's just a little Yang Gang update for you. We'll have the Annapolis protest up for you later on, a little tech glitch with that. So let's talk more about Manchin, Jordan.
Yeah, so I want to show this because I think A, Manchin's corrupt and I want to rant against him, but B, this also highlights why membership is so important and what you are supporting by your $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever you choose. And we hope to get more member signups. And after this, we're going to be doing our member, I don't know how long, but we'll be doing a member live stream after this, kind of like a Q&A with our members right after this.
It's going to be so fun. StatusCoup.com/fall. Join us.
Right. And by the way, like while we're live, there are other channels on doing TMZ bullshit. So like, this is why it's valuable to support Status Coup. Sure, there are other channels you could watch. This one's fighting with this one, and their headlines are always X person versus this person. If you want to support, like, kind of like worldwide wrestling for politics, we're probably not for you. But if you want to support real reporting, we are. God, I hate this IFB. Hold on. Hold on one second.
That's the earpiece, friends. Yeah, go to statuscoup.com/fall. As we said, if you are already a member, you can certainly purchase membership for someone that you care about. It's tough. The main way we're going to get new members is honestly by reaching a new audience, because I know a ton of you are already members. The thing is, we're being so suppressed that that's a real task right now. So we need about 200 additional members to reach our short-term goal. And any way that you guys can help us achieve that is much appreciated and make Status Coup stronger and allows us to report on what's truly important.
Absolutely. So Manchin, we went through kind of his threats to the reporters, to the reporter who dared ask him about his challenge, the money he's making from coal. But there's been this narrative, and you heard it from that corporatist doofus Michael Smerconish. You've heard it from other in the media that Manchin has no choice. He's in a red state. Trump won by 30-something points, so he has to operate this way. None of those people, I don't know if they've been to West Virginia, but none of those people actually probably have spoken with voters in West Virginia. So they might not know the history of is West Virginia really, truly that red? Or would they be against the policies in this $3.5 trillion deal? But also, how did West Virginia become so red? Because if you knew, a little state history, as recently as the early 2000s, so we're talking 2009, 2010, West Virginia was a Democratic state for like a century. So this moving to the red has really started mostly under the last 10 to 15 years. So we went to West Virginia over the summer on the ground. We spoke with activists, some local West Virginia Democratic Party people to find out, is West Virginia really this red? And what has Joe Manchin's role been in making West Virginia a Republican state? So I want to show this clip, my interview with West Virginia activist who was active, by the way, in Paul Lejean's campaign.
Joe Manchin has been the thorn in the side of West Virginians for decades. He started out in the state legislature and, ran for governor in, I think, 96 the first time. And he lost the primary to Charlotte Pritt, who is a very pro-union, pro-labor, very progressive individual. And he actually started a Democrats for Underwood group, which was the Republican person on the ticket that year. So, it's not about party for him. It's about alliances and who he's friends with and where the money comes from. This is.
He lost the primary. All we hear from Democrats is vote blue no matter who. They would fall in line to Bernie supporters in 2016, 2020. But in West Virginia, Joe Manchin, from the beginning, if it didn't work out for him, he pushed a Republican.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, our current governor, Jim Justice, was handpicked by Joe Manchin to run, and he switched his party to Democrat to run for governor. Joe Manchin touted him all over the state, did all this fundraising and stuff for him, and then he got into the governor's mansion and switched back to Republican. And no one batted an eye at that. It was not even surprising. And the Democratic Party in West Virginia has never apologized to the voters for being duped by Manchin and Justice into this, this game that they're playing. And, the voters have totally lost their trust in the Democratic Party in West Virginia, and it's because of things that Joe Manchin has done.
And also Jim Justice, who Manchin pushed as his little puppet candidate, he's got some corruption problems of his own. Very wealthy man who has borderline bent the law. Can you kind of talk about Jim Justice, the current governor? What's his background that Manchin was propping up?
Yeah, so Jim Justice is one of the biggest polluting coal barons in West Virginia. He owns mines all over Appalachia, has unpaid mine fines all over Appalachia, doesn't pay his taxes, owes millions of dollars in taxes. And Joe Manchin has been connected to the coal industry since before he was born. His family has always been involved in the coal industry. So it's not surprising that he would pick a coal baron who's a billionaire to run for governor in West Virginia to basically take over as governor when Earl Ray Tomlin was done. So none of this is surprising to people in West Virginia. It's just we're the ones that get screwed in the end, and nobody talks about that. They're talking about Manchin's position now, but Manchin's position still leaves West Virginians fighting for basic necessities like clean air and clean water.
So that was on the ground. That was just one person we spoke with. We spoke with a lot of people. I've also spoken with the actual candidate, the progressive candidate that beat Manchin in the primary in West Virginia in the 90s. And then he went on to sabotage her and help the Republican get elected. So, there's a lot of people like Kayleen. West Virginia is a mostly labor, pro-labor, working class, populist state, and it's got a lot of poor people. I believe West Virginia, I don't know the other, maybe Mississippi are the poorest countries in the state. So this notion
States
that,
in the country.
states in the country. So this notion that, he needs to be this way because it's a ruby red state, blah, 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 blah. Well, he helped move the state to the Republican side. And to tell you the truth, like the national political scene, well, why wouldn't it become more Republican if the opponents to the Republicans are essentially just Republican light? Generally, people are just going to take the real thing rather than the Diet Coke version. The Democrats haven't actually run on anything populist or progressive or pro-labor or economic justice in West Virginia, probably in 15 to 20 years. I mean, I've spoken with people in the West Virginia Democratic Party that essentially say, yeah, no, the whole messaging is, vote for us. So, we're not the Republicans. They're not pushing Medicare for all or, higher wages for workers or increasing the amount of workers in West Virginia that are unionized or free community college or anything. They are essentially corporatists down there that are just trying to match the Republican Party in terms of right-wingedness. But unlike what Michael Smerconish said, the truth is Trump might have won it. Bernie won every county in 2016. Trump pushed a lot of Bernie's economic policies, like getting, redoing NAFTA, all these things, which was wildly popular in West Virginia, which was also deindustrialized. So it's not a red state. Colin, I don't know if you have the results I just sent you, but this is just from 2018, the last time that Joe Manchin was up for re-election. I don't know if you could make it bigger. So he won the state. He won the state by, what is that? 47, 48, 49, little over 3 points. That's 19,000 votes. So he didn't win by that much over the Republican. So people like Michael Smerconish will say, well, that's because he ran as a Republican. So you could only compete while running as a Republican. Well, look at the map. So these are the areas that the Republican won, the areas where Manchin won. There's a whole lot of areas that were kind of, not enough data, too close to call. So to me, this map shows more. Maybe he won because he was a known brand at that point. Maybe he won because the opponent wasn't that great. But if he would have actually ran progressively, that number would probably be higher because the Republican didn't seem to win that much territory. Whereas Joe Manchin, he won a little narrowly over the Republican. I think there is a very strong case to be made that if there was an actual, like Paula Jean Swearengin, for example, who got no help at all from the Democratic Party in West Virginia while she was the general election nominee. Paula Jean Swearengin, if she would have gotten media coverage, backing of the Democratic Party, I think she could have won this time around. Just like I think Joe Manchin wouldn't narrowly win by 3 points. He'd probably win by a lot more if he was offering populist policies which sell in West Virginia. So we'll stay on Joe Manchin. You guys, again, like everything else, you guys funded us to go to West Virginia, where we did a whole lot more interviews. If you want to know more, you could just on the front page of YouTube, click on our playlists. Then you could click on Joe Manchin or West Virginia. You could see all the interviews that we did down there, because we interviewed her and a whole lot of other people. But Joe Manchin is not moderate. He's a Republican. He's corrupt. And he also, the whole vote blue no matter who, right there you have it, that Joe Manchin sabotaged the Democratic nominee to help elect a Republican. So this is not This is not somebody to negotiate with.
I would say for those like Punish and other mainstream media folk, that there's a reason that Trump took off in 2016. And a huge part of that reason is because he did, in his Trumpian way, push populist policy. As Jordan mentioned, he didn't mean a word of it, but it shows that it can work, and it does work, and that this is what people want. Populist policies are Bernie Sanders style policies. It's about humanity. These policies are humane. They're what our country should be providing, and pretty much, depending on how you present it to people, this is what people want, whether you have an R or a D behind your name. So for someone like Smirconish to get on and say, okay, well, you know, Manchin has to do X, Y, Z because it's such a conservative area. Well, that's not the case, because we know that West Virginians, for example, support Bernie Sanders more than they support Joe Biden. So it's false. It's easy to make these things seem true, Smirconish and friends, but it's not. It's not what the people want, and it's not what the people need. And so it's, I think, purposeful, to put it mildly, that these folks spout such things and support a Manchin or support a Sinema, who are clearly going against what the people need and want. And it's really disheartening. You know, we finally have progressives kind of fighting in a way that we've wanted to see. And it is not amounting to anything, because so far, hopefully it will, but we have the full, you know, media propaganda machine against this. We have the lobbyists against this. So it's a real uphill battle, to put it mildly.
Absolutely. Stay on them. Again, this is the kind of stuff that we want to do a whole lot more of. We just need funding to do it. It's not just Joe Manchin. There's a whole lot of other corrupt Democrats, Republicans, everything in between, that the local media doesn't challenge wherever they are. We would love to be on the ground covering more corruption, covering a lot more stories that aren't seeing the light of day. We just need your support. We need your support. So again, if you can figure it out, if you can sign up, statuscoup.com/join. Statuscoup.com/fall. Statuscoup.com/fall. There you could go figure out. I keep saying figure out. There you could go and sign up as a member and get directions on how to get the free Status Coup merchandise, which we're doing for the whole month of October. We'd love to get more member signups. Obviously, as you could see by our numbers, I mean, we're being really, really badly suppressed. I mean, channels of 121,000 subscribers don't get like 160 live viewers. Like, that's the most we had today. So, you know, we really hope we need to find ways to fund our on-the-ground reporting, and obviously YouTube, we're not getting enough exposure on YouTube. So definitely, if you can, support us, statuscoup.com/fall. And what's next, Jen?
Well, next, we're going to hop off here. I'm going to email members and YouTube members and our website members. And you guys, you members, are going to come back. And we're going to do an Ask Me Anything live stream just for you, just for members. So if you have a question, then join and ask us. We're pretty excited. This is fun. This is the first time we've done something like this. We've been doing, of course, live streams just for Rockfin members, for example, that we can't do on YouTube because we get banned, even though it's, you know, factual information, whatever. That's where we are. But this is the first of this kind of stream where, for YouTube, for all you members, we will be answering your questions, chatting with you. It's going to be really fun. StatusCoup.com/fall to get the secret link to the next live stream.
And how are people going to get that? Through email?
Yep, I'll email folks. We'll start it. I'll send out the email blast to all current members. I'll post on the members only community tab for YouTube, and then anyone who joins StatusCoup.com/fall, I will manually send you the secret link. So it'll be great. It'll be really good.
Awesome. Thanks for watching. Thanks to our new members, and we'll see you over on the members only.